Yes, every year there are a few players who kind of hold the fate of the NHL in their hands. And so, again, this list isn't necessarily the best players or who's going to dominate the league, but these are 5 players who have a chance to swing how the National Hockey League goes this season. Coming in at number 5, it's Jake Guentzel. He or Stamkos have popped up on basically every list that he is or that we have done here so far. And that has been a bit surprising as I've been going through, but it's been the easy one. Just be like, oh yeah, nope, that guy. Lock that one in. There we go. Guentzel, I do think is a good player, and I do think I have been a little bit hard on him in this. But I do think that the expectation that he will just fill in for Steven Stamkos and everything will be fine after Stamkos had 40 goals in 2 of the last 3 seasons, I think is a little bit pie in the sky, so to speak, for this team. I think that Guentzel is good. I think he has a few great qualities. I do not think that he is an overall great, difference maker type of a guy that Stamkos is. Now, if I'm wrong on that, then the Tampa Bay Lightning are a real threat again in the NBA or in the NHL, in the Eastern Conference. When you have Point and Kucherov still doing their thing, if Guentzel can just go out there and just continue to light the lamp and maybe be an improvement over a Steven Stamkos, then all of a sudden this Lightning team that felt like they were starting to fade away a little bit, all of a sudden they got something to say about everything in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if he alone and his play can help get them to a Stanley Cup, which is why I have them at 5. But I do think that he has an opportunity to really decide how things go in Tampa Bay, and that creates some opportunities for people in the for other teams in the East, and some opportunities for some teams at the top of the East to move on maybe a little bit further. At 4, it's Elias Pettersson. He played at an unreal rate for a lot of last season, and that helped the Vancouver Canucks get to within a game of the Western Conference Final in the postseason. Now, this year, he is going to have to be great again. They are asking, I think, quite a bit of him with the young Lekaramäki playing on his line, at least to start. That's a player that I've said before that I like. If he is able to get the most out of those guys again, Höglander and Lekaramäki, then you have a Canucks team that, again, feels quite deep, and a Canucks team that feels quite dangerous, and one that, if the goalies are also healthy, so maybe this is a Elias Pettersson / Thatcher Demko, because if those two guys are on, then within the range of outcomes for Vancouver is winning the Stanley Cup. They can be that good. But if Elias Pettersson is almost anything under a Hart Trophy candidate, I do worry, and we talked about this the other day on Who's In, Who's Out NHL Playoff Edition. I do worry. Oh, I forgot my dog was in here. That Pettersson and the Canucks maybe take a bit of a step back this year. And again, that now opens the door for a team like a Seattle, maybe an LA, to move up a little bit more. Probably not a Calgary in the Pacific Division. Vegas takes over that opening from going from the wild card into a top 3 spot, and I think really shifts the dynamic out west. But if Pettersson can get going and kind of stay going, because he was very good last year, if he can be that guy, then I think Vancouver can be that team. At 3, Kakko with the New York Rangers. Last year, we saw the Rangers take, I think, a pretty significant step forward because of Alexis Lafreniere. He was great in the playoffs at times where Panarin wasn't, and he was the star player at times where their other guys weren't. And that, I think, allowed the Rangers to rise up to another level. And while, again, love the talent on this Rangers team, with the aforementioned Lafreniere, I gush about Panarin any chance I get. Same thing with Zibanejad. In Calgary, we don't like Fox, but he's pretty good at hockey. You have one of the best goalies in the world back between the pipes as well. Kreider is just an absolute beast and has people in various Canadian markets very upset with him over ways he has attacked goalies over the years, but is still quite talented at the sport of hockey. They have so many great pieces. It does kind of feel like if Kakko can kind of turn into the guy we expected him to be when he was drafted very high by the Rangers a few years ago, then there is a very good opportunity for the Rangers to be a very legitimate Stanley Cup threat. They are right there, and I just feel like Kaapo Kakko can be that piece to carry them kind of over the finish line, and so that is why I have him on this list. At 2, it is Cole Caulfield. And maybe I should have him a little bit lower because I don't think that he can alter the course of Montreal to the point where they are a Stanley Cup champion, the way that I have just talked about the Rangers and I have just talked about the Canucks and I guess the Lightning to a certain degree. But I do think that Cole Caulfield has an opportunity to really help carry this Montreal team to the playoffs. And that is, I think, a pretty big step for them, and I think would be very intriguing. And now that they've gone out and added Line A as well, if he can be the Line A again that we all think he can be, this is a really good, really exciting group, but they have needed that star for a little bit. If Cole Caulfield just turns into that guy, then this might be a Montreal team that takes more than a couple of steps this year. And again, I'm not saying Stanley Cup final or Eastern Conference final even, but I do think that this is a team that has quite a bit of talent, and they are one that I think can cause some real problems out east. And we have already talked about, like, there are a lot of very good teams in the Eastern Conference. Probably a couple of them are going to miss the playoffs. And Montreal has an opportunity, I think, to dictate that a little bit as well. And coming in at number 1, it is Mitch Marner. I think he has a way to decide this season, by just playing like Mitch Marner can and just using everything that has happened this offseason as fuel and just being like a, hey, fuck all y'all kind of a guy, and go out there and really light the lamp and take over for the Toronto Maple Leafs and be that dynamic offensive player that we all know he can be. I think he's legitimately one of the most talented guys in the NHL. If he can turn it on in the playoffs, if whatever thing that is on his shoulders when it gets past the point of the regular season, and instead of game whatever of 82, it is just game 1. Whatever thing that is holding him there, if he can just transfer regular season him into postseason him, and I get we are asking for something that hasn't really happened before, but if he can just do that, then this Leafs team, this last run with the Leafs, I jokingly said Last Dance the other day. I'm not going to do that anymore because that is disrespectful to the Last Dance, because that was at the end of 6 championships for the Bulls, not 6 playoff game wins or playoff game appearances for an NHL team. But I do think that Mitch Marner has an opportunity. If he can just figure out the playoff part of it and kind of drag a couple of his guys there, then this team can make some very substantial noise in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. The other option, and the one that is a little bit more chaos, if he just decides, hey, you know what? I am going to waive it. Trade me. And then we have just mass everything going on across the NHL. And he is the one who can just kind of launch a smoke bomb into the entire the trade frenzy thingy mabob that is going on. And so I do not anticipate that option actually happening. But because he has that little one to play, I do think he could be very interesting. A couple from the chat on the Calgary Flames. Deeds, how fun was Cooley to watch last night? And Dude's interviews are like listening to your beer league goalie talk about his game. Yeah, he is overflowing with personality. I still think that he is going to be overflowing with personality as the Wranglers' number 1 goalie this year. He'll probably make some NHL appearances because, goalies got hurt. But I still think of the 3 that are in the battle for the job, he's 3rd. And I think pretty solidly number 3. But no, he was so much fun last night. And I do think that he is a player that is interesting. And you do need guys like that. And you do need guys who can really just, bump up those spirits, especially if you're playing down in the American Hockey League. And so I think that he is someone who will be a welcome addition for whether it's the American Hockey League or whoever it is. I think that there is something there for sure. Goalies get hurt, Vladar gets moved at the deadline, etc. Yeah, no, there is absolutely a world where he can come in and have a bit of an impact for this team. So maybe not a big one, but that's kind of why I'm here, is to show that I don't suck that much, and hopefully I can help this team get some wins in the regular season. Yeah, who doesn't love an eccentric backup goalie, and so, especially preseason, man, to kind of break up some of the monotony when this thing starts to drag on a little bit. By the way, just recorded, will not be up yet, but very, very soon on the Game Over YouTube channel. I just did a quick little Not as in-depth as we'll go for game overs in the regular season, but just a quick little on the first couple preseason games for the Flames. Admittedly, I didn't watch the one out in Edmonton. It required signing up for Oilers Plus, and I'm not going to do that, and then had some stuff to do today, and a 10-minute recap video just wasn't going to shoehorn in, but saw a few of the clips on Twitter. Things looked good. Over on Game Over Calgary, very, very soon, I will be looking at the players that have stood out in a good way, looking at a couple of things I'm a little bit concerned with, and what I think about the lineup going forward. At least for now. Again, all of it with the caveat that it is still very early in the preseason. But there's at least, I think, a little bit to like about this Calgary Flames team. And a couple of pieces that I think can actually provide a nice little bit of comfort for you as we kind of get into the start of the season. So a bit more over, again, go subscribe right now. I'm going to throw this in the chat, which is probably why I've been stumbling a little bit, although probably not more than usual. Throwing it in there right now. YouTube.com/@Game Over Calgary. Go subscribe there. You can find us on the internet at I had this written down. I'm pretty sure it is the Game Over Network. TheGameOverNetwork.com. You can find us on social media. We are at Game Over NHL on TikTok and X, and we are Game Over Calgary on Game Over Network on YouTube and Instagram. That was all not as smooth as I wanted that to be, but go subscribe. We'd really appreciate it, and want to do a few more of those over on the Game Over Network. By the way, the audio from that is going to be up in podcast form on Couch Potato Diary, and also it's going to be a little bonus action for you guys before tomorrow's stream. I'm going to stream it live. I'll be in the chat chatting with you guys, but we'll play the pre-recorded things. So that is going to be. That's kind of the plan, but still go subscribe over Game Over Calgary, and we will get that going. I'm thinking Hansik's game is growing as the preseason goes on. Do you agree? 100% I do. I don't know if it's growing to the point where he can make the NHL roster, but I have very much liked what I've seen from him so far. And look, they've won 3 of their games by like a combined 100, so there's going to be a lot of positives, but I think he has been a very nice sign so far, and one that I feel like he is going to be someone who is going to have to grow into a bit more things at the AHL level. But I think he's going to be one where by the time we're here again next year, he's going to be a guy that we're going to be talking about we need to find a way to get this kid on the team. And there's actually a few of those right now for the Flames. But yes, all of that talked about over on Game Over Calgary, probably in the next hour and a bit or so. I would agree, Toxic. I would keep him in the A, but I do think his game is growing. Are you going to be doing all the post-game shows there? Not all of them. Lord, no, not all of them. But certainly some of them. And I even hesitate to say most. But I will definitely be part of the cast over at Game Over Calgary this year. And also, just the Game Over Network in general. We're doing a whole lot of stuff. There on the national side. That's a whole lot of fun. Conrad, I completely agree with you, but not entirely my call. So, yes, a lot there on the Flamesy part of the conversation. So, yes, again, to summarize, Game Over Calgary, YouTube channel. I will be talking about Flames prospects. You should go watch that, but you can also listen to it audio form, and I'll have a bonus stream of it here, so we can all chat about it as it goes on. It's kind of a pre-show meeting before to tomorrow's live stream.